Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of Learning HTML. In this episode, I'm going to dig a little deeper into VS Code and explain some of the functions and extensions, and of course, some HTML too. So let's get to work. This editor is the one I suggested in the past 2 episodes. Because, as I said, it's easy to work with and supports extensions. There's 2 extensions that is useful for coding and it makes it easier. These are Live Server and Snippets. You can easily install them in the editor itself in this section. Now we're gonna learn how to work with VS Code. When you open the app, we can see this main page. It's pretty simple, like any other app you ever work with. To create a file, click on this, choose a name and location and create it. Simple as that. Or if you already have a file, you can open it by clicking at this. But you can also add more files and folders from the app itself. Oh, and don't forget, make sure to have the .html suffix at the end of any file you create. If you don't do it, VS Code will not consider the file as an HTML. So if I want all my files to be sorted in one place, I will click on the file and then open folder. I either have a folder already or I can create one. In this case, I don't have a folder, so I create one right here. Well, what happened? It brings the folder to here. I can now control anything in this folder. You doubt? I will show you right now. I'm gonna make a text file here. You see? It brings it here, and I can control everything in this folder from this section. And if I want to have another file, I can also add one just by clicking on this icon. For example, headings. There's no suffix for this file, so what happens? It identifies the file as a normal text file. I right click on the file and rename it, and I add a suffix like HTML to it. As soon as I did this, the editor can now identify it by an HTML5, and it's the same with all the other suffixes too. Okay, now we're going to talk about the headings, the main topic of this episode. One of the extensions I talked about was snippets. I'm gonna write HTML here, and when I click on HTML5, it automatically wrote the whole structure of it. And as you can see, there's this duck type tag that is in the sign of HTML5 that I talked about in the previous episode. Whenever you see this at the top, you should know that it's HTML5 you're writing. And don't get confused by all these tags. I'm going to explain them in future and discuss what they will do. We're talking about headings, so I changed the title to heading. In HTML, we have a tag named h1 all the way to h6. These tags can help me to show my titles in the page, but they have some set of rules that we're going to discuss them. I open the tag and close it, and as you can see, it automatically closes it for me. Now whatever I write here will be considered as a content. I'm gonna write this is header, for example. In order to see the changes with Live Server, right click on the file and choose the first option. This is the Live Server that shows me this heading file. I'm gonna delete this part, and it shows me a list of all the files in my folder. For example, if I have a few files, I can click on any of them and see the content inside. This is the Lifesaver extension that I talked about. Lifesaver is live communication between our codes and the output. Alright, this H1 is for the main title of the page. And remember, you always have to use this one time according to SEO rules. If you use it 2 times or more, Google will not like it and doesn't consider your website as a legit one. This is a very important thing you have to pay attention to. About the other tags, H2, as you can see, this one is smaller. We can use this 3 times in a page. The next one is H3. The higher the number goes, the smaller the size of text gets. And we can use this H3 6 times in one page. So 6 times H3, 3 times H2, and 1 time H1 according to SEO rules. But from H4 all the way to H6 can be used as many as you want, and Google doesn't care. You can have thousands of H4 tags. And all of these tags can have attributes too. There's one last thing before I end this episode. Do not over-install extensions, because you might end up getting your VS Code crashed. I'll tell you any extension that might be necessary in future, but for now, these 2 are enough. Thanks for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next one.